Perez, who won the 2019 Masters and the 2018 Scratch Classic. In lane 13, we have Ryan Birchfield, who won the 2013 Masters. On lane 37, we have Trent Jarvis, who won the 2015 Scratch Classic. On lane 33, we have Chris Cundiff, who won the 2014 Scratch Classic. Okay, if you would please stand, we'll have the national anthem. Okay, we're now going to turn them on for 10 minutes of practice on your starting lanes only. You need to hit the check mark to turn the lane on. And please don't throw a shot until the machine has turned on. Okay, bowlers, good. Hold up on your brackets. Last call brackets and side pots. And once the scores are up and ready for you, you have to press the check mark. Good luck.
Zach's going to go on with me. Zach's going to go on.
All right, welcome to Savage Bowling TV's presentation of the 2021 Indiana State Masters. We're just underway with the 1 p.m. squad, and in the booth, Scott Gilmore, and joining me is the defending champion from Indianapolis, Zach Weidman. And I said Weidman, not Weidman.
I appreciate it.
Well, I know there's a lot of inside jokes to that too as well. But anyway, Zach, you bowled the first squad and finished nicely. You wrapped up with a 238 game to get yourself into the top 10 at fifth at plus 61. And what were, as those that are watching the live stream right now, what did you see and what are the challenges for these players right now?
Yeah, so it looks like I did a little something different than everyone else. The first squad, I actually threw reactive. Everyone else in the top 6 at least was throwing urethane from out. So I threw the brand new Obsession Tour inside, probably starting out around 17 out to 7-8. And then second game I battled some transition and threw a couple bad shots for the 190. And then the last game I went to the DV8 Verge Pearl and moved even further left and was getting it to the same spot down lane and shot the 238. But it looks like there's a pretty good look outside from watching EJ with urethane, so might have to try that tomorrow.
Yeah, and what a luxury it is to be able to throw it. Matter of fact, EJ Tackett on the live stream pair, and also Gene Perez off to his left on 1 and 2. Obviously, he'll be throwing urethane. This is Jacob Sisk playing just left of EJ. Now, here's the one thing that I'm going to ask you. I don't know if you had anybody with urethane on your pair. Some that did said actually it helped them when they played just to the right of them. The reactive resin ball kind of sat up at the head pin rather than hooked like they were seeing early on.
Yeah, so urethane, people kind of complain about it when other people throw it, but it actually helps out a pattern like this because it'll stretch it out. The back ends on this pattern are so crisp and there's not a lot of hold, but when people throw urethane, it actually kind of carries down that 40-foot pattern and gives you a little extra hold. So it's good for guys that throw reactive. It's just depending on where someone's throwing it. If you got someone playing just right of you with urethane, that's not a good time.
Well, I know I tried to bowl the first squad, didn't have much luck at it. The one thing that, players would ask me my opinion on things, and I felt, Zach, for what I saw or experienced, and I saw some other guys experience too as well, there's no shim, in which, there's no hold at the head pin. If you miss a little bit in right, it's not stopping. It's going right through the face. And that's the challenge is leaving something, as you see here on lane 3, leaving something you can make.
Yeah.
It's critical.
That's where the urethane is very helpful because it gives you that extra maybe 1 or 2 boards of shim like you were talking about, that if you pull it, it's not going to go straight through the face and maybe big 4, you might just 4-pin or something. And you don't leave the crazy splits that you normally do with reactive because you don't have that big back end motion. It's usually kind of a more subtle hook that's going to be something you can make, like a 3-6-10 or a 4-pin, but not the big designs you get with reactive resin.
And again, you just saw Jacob Sisk here with what appears to be, from our vantage point, a 2-4-10. I'm not sure if he's got the 8-pin there or not. Yes, he does. Or no, he doesn't. This is where, again, like we're saying, it's not a lot. You know, that's what's amazing. You see somebody leave a split like that, and you figure, oh, he missed by a lot. But he might have only missed maybe a board and a half right.
Yeah, this pattern is extremely challenging. You maybe have 2 to 3 boards if your speed and rev rate's perfect, but if you happen to miss your release or throw it a little hard, you have almost no miss room. So you have to be perfect speed, rev rate, and location on the lane. And if you have the first 2 right, you can have a couple boards down at the break point, but if not, it's pretty challenging.
Here's E.J. Tackett here on lane 3. He's got the front 3 in the 4th frame. And 10 back. You know, and the thing about E.J. Tackett, imagine, Zach, if his carry percentage was as good as some players like Jason Belmonte's or whatever. Look what he accomplishes with, most people say the weakness of EJ is just his carry percentage. That's no fault of his own. That's just bad luck in bowling, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you can create carry with your ball roll and ball speed, where that's where Jason might have a little slower ball speed and kind of has a little bit different roll, where EJ has a little more speed and a little different roll. So it's just, especially on pattern to pattern, it'll match up a little bit different. But it is pretty crazy how carry can really kind of determine who finishes first and who finishes second in the PBA. It's a big deal.
Well, yeah, and even it's a situation here. We were talking the difference between that one carry and the one you wiggled 21 pins, the difference there, and you're talking about scoring that you're going to have, let's say, 20 guys separated by 21 pins. Think about that. I mean,
yeah, this tournament is crazy because you'll pretty much have the entire match play field somewhere between 610, 615 to maybe 700. So 80 to 90 pins for 48 guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting in my man purse is what Chad called it.
I like that.
It's just my supplies, you know.
Cute.
It's supply and demand.
Some Twizzlers and some
I got
ibuprofen. What else do you need?
I got Skittles.
Oh,
Let's see what else we got in the bag of goods. Cheez-Its.
I think it's a trick-or-treating bag.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I got Oreo snack things. It looks like I might even have a bag of Werther's. Have you ever had a Werther?
I love Werther's Originals.
Do you love Werther's Originals?
Me and Dustin Zahner would do anything for
There
Werther's
is
Original.
a Werther's Original for you. You're welcome.
That. Those are gold.
I know.
Usually I got them at my grandparents' house because it's like an old person candy.
I know. Don't call me old.
Explains why you have it, Scott.
Well, yeah, I know. 48, be 49 in May.
Ooh,
you
we
know,
can bowl over 50, under 50 stuff here soon.
Yeah, there you go. And I even have some Rice Krispie treats in there. So, hey, you know, if you're needing a little snack, you're feeling down on yourself, Zach, come on over to the booth. And these are one things that you'll find when you get older. You're popping a little bit of ibuprofen in here. And
well, I definitely had some before I started. Even my ripe old age of 26, I still get a couple aches and pains in the mornings.
God, you're so old. Now let's see if that works. I got a little bit of caffeine. I didn't get coffee this morning.
Oh boy.
So there's a big problem.
That's probably why you bowled bad.
Absolutely. So I didn't get my coffee. I prepared for my coffee because I had Icebreakers mints. You drink a little coffee, even though you got the mask on while you're bowling.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to.
Well, you don't want to smell your own coffee breath.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the mask. You realize how bad your own breath is sometimes, so you got to have those mints.
Yeah, it's not usually good. It's not good. So how are things at the shop?
They've been pretty busy, so it's been good. Even though league bowling's down a little bit, and open bowling's down a little bit, our league bowlers have been kind of taking care of us, buying plenty of balls. All the new releases coming out have been keeping us busy on everyone wanting the latest and greatest.
Yeah, the sounds like the Obsession balls from Hammer a lot of have generated a lot of buzz.
Yeah, those are going to be a great 1-2 combo. I've drilled both so far and absolutely love the regular obsession. For a strong asymmetric ball, it doesn't burn up and go forward down lane. It really reads the mid lane and then continues, which you don't see in a whole lot of strong asymmetric balls. And then the Obsession Tour is just a good step down. Fits right in between the Web Tour and the regular Obsession. It's going to read the mid lane, but just be a lot smoother.
Looks like we got Charlie Collip here, local Angie Collip's son, who's the general manager here.
Current Purdue bowler.
You know, and Charlie has kind of bounced back and forth. He was a one-handed player, and then he's tried to work on the two-handed game. You know, you're seeing a lot of two-handers anymore in the youth age ranges, right? Obviously, very few players like Walter Ray at his age can pick up, you know, the two-handed release.
Well,
I've tried it once. It was rather funny looking.
Walter Ray has a 300 in PBA competition with throwing two-handed, so old dogs can learn new tricks.
Well, and here's the thing, too. He's got to go in his bag and get a ball that doesn't have a thumb hole in it.
That is the challenge of it now.
You know, before you could just take that out if you wanted to. And
I know some people that are one-handed and they want to throw it two-handed. They'll still put their thumb in just a little bit, so they're still abiding by the rules. But they can still throw it two-handed, but just having their thumb part of the way in. Here's a hot bowler right now on lane 7 in the Lafayette area, at least. I'm sure you get to see it a lot more with Ryan Burton.
yeah, I really thought, I told Chad before this squad started, based on what I've seen, I thought if he shows up, he's going to like him. When you can throw left, when you can throw left and there's friction, he's going to have a lot of success.
Yeah, if you give him just a little bit of room either way and he can throw urethane especially, he is going to light him up. He can strike a ton. I think, what do you have, 857, 858 a month or two ago in Lafayette?
And he's had, in our league on Wednesday nights at Market Square, he has 5 300s.
Yeah, he can strike.
I believe he went 300, 247, 300 or something like that, 847.
That is a lot of striking.
I wouldn't know what that's like. You know more about that than me.
I do have an 869, so that was pretty crazy. 2 9-pins was pretty insane at Expo Bowl, but not too much.
What would you think? Okay, imagine, how do you think you would feel physically? You're getting up into the 10th frame and you have 300, 300, front 9. How do you think you feel physically? Are the knees, legs pretty weak, you think?
Yeah, usually what happens when I get nervous, my hand gets real cold and my knees, or my legs in general, I can't feel them. So I don't get shaky necessarily, but it's just hard because my hand gets so cold. My thumb usually goes down a size, so I need to put some tape in. But it would be tough. It helps being on a house shot where you have a little room. Either way, I couldn't imagine even being on the front 11 on this pattern, because you, like we were saying, you have a board maybe either way if your speed and rev rate are perfect. So trying to do that when you have the nerves going.
So you're the cold and clammy guy.
Yeah.
It's nothing worse than the fish hand guy. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but when you give somebody 5, it's like water just splashed off your hand, you know. And it's like I've never, you know, I'm lucky my hands don't sweat that bad, but I'm a heavy rosin guy. I rosin up quite a bit.
Yeah, I've had some friends that I bowled with in the past that have had very, very sweaty hands, and they did the COVID bump before the COVID bump was cool, because they didn't want to get their sweaty hands on everyone. So,
speaking of 900, Bob Kammer here on lane 7 from up north has a 900 in his resume. He actually was off to a good start, then obviously missed way left. And if you miss an arrow or two, got you're just hoping for something reasonable, right?
The bad thing on this pattern is it is very easy to go Brooklyn, and it's not much more to miss the head pin left. If you miss maybe 3 or 4 boards, you're probably going Brooklyn. And if you miss more than 5 or 6, you're missing the head pin.
Well, our TV pairs are 3, 4, 7, 8, 13, and 14 for qualifying today. So let's go over this. We got 4 squads. How do you see the lanes changing? Because as you know, every time you strip an oil, you're changing the pattern in a sense.
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
you think they're going to be, even just into the next squad?
So the past few years for me, the first squad in the morning is usually the best squad because you still have a little bit of that house shot memory. They usually get them done and oiled ahead of time so the pattern can kind of settle a little bit. And then going forward, they're oiling right away and then pretty much starting bowling right after that. So they almost get a little bit tighter down lane. And you don't quite have the room right that you normally do, and you don't have very much hold either. And it's harder to throw urethane, so a lot of the guys that had a good look with urethane the first set and now this set are going to not have that probably at the 430 and the 8 squad. But we'll see how they play out. Jimmy's still throwing urethane there on lane 9, you can kind of see. So he's still having the look that he had the first set. But
Well, and he's purely playing brackets, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's what-
682, I mean, what are you really – at this point in time, he's guaranteed in the top 16. There's really nothing else to bowl for, right?
yeah, that's what you get a lot of times with like guys like him and EJ. They'll come and bowl all day and just fire in for brackets and try to make some money that way. For me, I'm a little more on the safe side. I can easily shoot 160, which is a bracket killer. So I have confidence in myself, but also I know this tournament pair to pair is very, very tricky. If you get on the wrong pair, follow the wrong person, doesn't matter how good you bowl, you pretty much guaranteed a 170.
Who would you say you model yourself? You know, obviously you're aspiring to be a professional bowler on tour. Who do you model yourself after on your bowling and then maybe as a personality?
So I have always liked Bill O'Neill. He's been my favorite bowler for 10, 12 years. I've always liked kind of how he's carried himself. I've liked how he can play the lanes. And he's been with Hammer for the last 10 years, so now being on Hammer, I really kind of look up to him. I also looked up to Wes Malott because he was another big guy like myself, so I tried to model my game after him. Being taller, it's more important to kind of go slow because if you get your feet going too fast, being tall, you can really get ahead of yourself. So trying to keep your feet slow and stay under control. So I'd probably say Bill O'Neill and Wes Malott are two guys I would try to emulate my game after, I guess.
So do you look at the foul line when you let go of it?
I do not do that. That is very unique.
Is it? I'm just trying to figure out how do you know where it's going?
So he does something similar to me. I like to visualize a line, but I almost do it the opposite. I start where I want to lay the ball down and then trace it out throughout the lane across my break point to the pins. I don't necessarily focus on one individual mark, especially at the arrows. If you could hit third arrow and end up at 5 down lane or 15 down lane, depending on your angle. So I look at a break point more than I do at the arrows. But yeah, I don't know how Wes knows where his ball's going looking at the foul line when he lets it go.
Definitely a unique style. Now, we're going to, obviously, Bob Kammerer here with the 4-6-7 split. Here's a situation where I wanted to talk about this, is he starts out with the front 3, goes 7 spare strikes, so he's, on what he's thinking a 240 pace, right, through 5 frames. Now all of a sudden he misses a spare in the 6 on a bad shot. Now he's got more than likely another open. How fast? And as you're thinking, you try not to look ahead, right? Mm-hmm. But you can get caught up in that. I remember listening to Jason Belmonte talk about one of his experiences with the World Series of Bowling, and he caught himself watching others, and he caught himself totaling his score before he even got there.
Yep.
And he talked about that is the worst thing you can do as a player.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really interesting. I mean, I don't know if you've ever done that yourself, but there's an instance where all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, now I got 240, let's keep it clean. If I can throw some more strikes, and now he's going to shoot 220 if he strikes out. And that's, you're on this type of a pattern, you're just not going to throw 5 or 6 in a row, right?
Yeah.
You can, but it's very difficult.
I used to be really bad about that. I would start out with, say, the front 4 or 5. I'm like, all right, I have at least 250 here in my head. And then all of a sudden you throw one split, and then you think you need to strike out to get to that 250. And then you put more pressure on yourself, and it's kind of a spiral effect where you think you need to strike every shot to get to that instead of focusing shot to shot. But if you hear anyone on tour talk, they're talking about committing to one shot and not worrying about their total score or even going forward in that game. They're just trying to throw the best shot they can at that one time.
there's what gets Ryan in trouble. He kind of set one short. You know, the one thing that Matt Sanders said to me this morning that he was surprised about in this tournament this year compared to years past, and obviously you'll understand this comment, is the fact that the gutter kind of hooked. Before, you got it out to the gutter, and you're thinking 3, 4, 5 count or less, right?
Yeah, this year I didn't even bother playing outside because the past couple of years I've tried, and like you said, if you got it out, it just did not want to hook. So I played inside pretty much the entire time. I wish I would have brought a urethane ball to look outside, but I'm happy with my score at 661. Yeah, they're still touchy. There's still no hold, which there never is here. If you get it going left for a right-hander or right for a left-hander, it's not going to hold pocket.
Before we get too far along, we want to thank our sponsors. Obviously, Big Four Sox, who's sponsoring this squad. I want to thank David Slavin, and I believe, if I remember correctly, Zach, you're on staff with Big Four, right?
Yeah.
Big news, too. Just signed Jason Couch to a staff's membership, and, that's one of my all-time favorites. Jason was a phenomenal player, still is.
Yeah, being a lefty, he's one that you had to root for and always watch.
Well, he was kind of one of those because he was after players like Mike Albee, who will be with us tomorrow, Parker Bone, who was kind of a tweener, some of these guys that – then all of a sudden you had Jason Couch, who revved the ball like crazy back in his younger days. That was just unheard of on the left side.
Yeah, people give credit for Mark Roth starting the power player kind of revolution on the right side, but for probably another 20 or 30 years after that, all the lefties were still strokers. I mean, Mike Albee, he could hook it, but he was still a stroker. Parker, still pretty much a stroker. And then Jason Couch comes along and is revving on as much as like a righty in a lefty's body. So he probably started some of this two-handed lefty and the power lefty revolution, hammering on urethane.
As you know, by starting your ascend in the PBA Tour ranks, that it's all about the rev rate, and you have to be able to generate miss room.
Yeah, that's the PBA Tour nowadays isn't as much about accuracy. You still have to be accurate. Everyone that bowls on tour is still pretty accurate, but it's all about finding a ball that gives you miss room and can carry when you do miss, because it's not the days of averaging 200 to 210 and maybe making a show. You are averaging 230 to 240 to make a show, and you have to be able to throw some 5 and 6 baggers to get there.
Also, our other sponsors, Penheads Bowling Center and Fishers, Motive Bowling, Mike Albee's Arrowhead Bowl out of Lafayette, and obviously the Indiana State USBC. And we want to thank the Madison County Visitors Bureau for their sponsorships this weekend to make our broadcast possible. Again, Scott Gilmore and Zach Weidman. And obviously, we want to promote February 6th. Zach's going to be on television bowling for a chance at $250,000 the Players' Championship. So you want to make sure you watch that. I believe, Zach, your show will be on FS1, correct?
Yes, at 4 p.m. a week from today.
Yeah. How weird is it going to be? Now, pre-taped, we're not going to say a word other than that. I'm just going to ask one question. How weird will it be for you to watch yourself on TV?
Extremely weird. So even looking back at YouTube, like the Indiana Masters last year, I don't really enjoy watching myself bowl, to be honest. Cause
well, that one wasn't a great example of.
But
you won, but it was brutal bowling, wasn't it?
Yeah. It'll be cool though. It'll be very neat to be able to like look back and know I did it. Even when it'll help when I'm doubting myself in my bowling and knowing that I got there and was able to perform that way. But it'll be kind of surreal actually seeing myself on TV when it's been people that I've looked up to for my whole life. Like my first matches against Wes, and like I said, he's one of my favorite bowlers from since I was little. So getting to bowl against him will be surreal.
Well, and the first thing you have to do is you have to get over the awestruck, right? Like, wow, this is Wes Malott. You have, as a player, you have to get over that, right? Because you can get caught up into that, and it affects how you're bowling in general.
Yeah.
When I was bowling, I remember one of the first PBA Tour events I bowled, all my favorites, of course, I'm going to date myself, but, I'm bowling with the Jason Couches was a young player. Parker Bone was still in his prime, and and you're just looking at, you're like, holy cow. So you end up watching and not even focusing on what you're doing. And I figured that was probably one thing that you had to, all right, mentally I got to get in my place, wherever that place may be, and bowl as you're bowling against somebody you don't know, right?
Yeah, it's been something it's hard for a lot of people that go out and bowl their first PBA tournaments because they're bowling against people they've always looked up to, so it almost feels like you're bowling a pro-am instead of bowling against the guys. And then I had to just tell myself that I was just as good as them. I deserved to be there. I knocked down just as many pins as them to get there, so they're an equal almost. As much as you want to like look up to them and kind of be enamored, it's important to try to know you can beat them. EJ just said he is throwing the Motive Covert tank, and he knew 5 or 6 frames in that it would start to carry down just a little bit. And he had the front 6, it looks like, front 5,
front 5,
and then 9, 9, 9, 9. When he called it, I was talking to him before, and he was worried that it was gonna happen. So he's good enough though; he can make an adjustment. He'll probably go to another microcell polymer ball that Motive has and find something that'll get those single pins out.
It's amazing the technology that they're putting in the urethane stuff.
It is, yeah. Motive is doing something pretty cool with the microcell polymer where it's a little bit more than urethane but still more controllable than reactive. And then nothing's been able to beat the Purple Hammer from Hammer over the last 4 or 5 years. It's just something special that every company has tried to replicate, and no one has.
And I'm hearing, that we could see something in the future.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they're working on it. I don't know how they wouldn't when you have probably the most successful ball just on tour over the last 3 or 4 years. You would try to remake that, but it's one of those things that it was almost a freak accident, I think, when they made it. I don't think they knew exactly what they're making because they had the Black Hammer, which was good. It was a traditional urethane where it didn't hook a whole lot, real smooth and controllable, and then they made this purple to kind of complement it, and then it ends up being one of the most special balls ever made.
A lot of people call it purple gold because it just makes money if you're a really good player and you know how to utilize it, right?
On tour, they call it the career maker because if you get someone with that in their hands, they can go on and win a few titles that they might not normally have won, and all of a sudden have a few titles on tour and a superstar.
Obviously there's so many guys that are on staff, and they can't throw, obviously, anything they want. But there's some players that you just would love to see that primarily throw urethane. What would they do with that ball in their hands? It'd be rather interesting.
Yeah, the purple was just, it's almost hard to describe unless you've thrown it. It gives you extra room out when you miss, still gives you the hold that urethane gives you, and carries better than any urethane. So it's just hard to beat. And people like to hate on it, saying that it's just kind of a cheat code. You can kind of throw it wherever. It does give you some room, but you still have to know how to use it, and the transition is the most tricky part. People can throw it for 1 or 2 games, but knowing how to transition with it is the hardest part.
Well, yeah, and it's gone away from the righty-lefty debate to almost now the urethane resin debate, right? Most guys, urethane's in play, it's over, and they're going to pick 5 or 6 guys, and and sometimes that can be true, but it used to be, obviously the left-handers own this, this tournament or whatever, but now it's almost become the no urethane debate.
Yeah, it's something similar. When urethane's good, the lefties still sometimes have an edge because they can throw it longer because there's not as many lefties throwing it, so they don't have the transition that the righties get. But they still go through their own moves, and it is on the right side even. If a righty can throw it and match up with it, it gives them a significant advantage over someone that can't.
Absolutely. All right, we're about almost finished here. Some bowlers are wrapping up game number 1. And what was your – obviously, you see so many big games in game 1. Then game 2, you see some guys dip down after having a great start. What do you think that what primarily plays into that factor?
So on your starting pair, you get 10 minutes of practice. So you can try 2-3 different balls and either break down the pair the way you like or find a look that is good for you. Going to the next pair, you're following someone that did something completely different usually than you. So you're kind of having to adapt to their style, and you don't get any practice shots. So your first 2 or 3 frames are all practice more or less, trying to find trying to find a good reaction. And when you can put up a big game is when you do get to follow someone that is playing similar to you or just to the outside of you, so you have a little extra miss room.
Look at Jeff Grego there on lane 14, and talented player. Actually made the top 4 at the Indiana Scratch Classic. He struggled in the first set. He could not find anything, he said, that could just slow down at the head pin. And then when he tried to play right, that's what he left, a lot of 4 pins, and there he has another one. And that's the challenge.
Yeah, Jeff has a kind of a unique game where he's a little slower speed, a different roll. So if he's not seeing hold, it's hard for him sometimes. Where the Scratch Classic, you have a little bit more hold than this tournament. It seems like this tournament inside 10 to 10 is very flat, so there's not a lot of hold. Scratch Classic seems like you can get away with a little more miss room in because your ball wants to sit there.
All right, Scott Gilmore, Zach Weidman here in the broadcast booth. You're watching the, whatever you want to call it, B squad, 1 o'clock squad, second squad here at the Indiana State Masters. Chad Lester, our production director guy over here to my right, he's in the chat booth right now, so if you want to send some messages, ask some questions, ask Zach some questions, we will tell you this, it can't be about the show because he's not going to tell you.
You can ask about the Florida weather all you want. I've still been dreaming of that. 78 and sunny when we have about 8 inches of snow on the way.
Yeah, is it snowing yet?
Not yet.
Not
so
yet.
We're lucky.
Let's hope the weathermen are wrong.
It would not be a Masters weekend, though, if there wasn't some kind of weather issue. It seems like out of the last few years, there's always been either the chance of bad weather or we've actually had some bad weather. So
yeah, and it's really hard to think that, it's getting closer. It's getting closer.
Oh, boy.
And it's one of those things where you're right. There's got to be something. And so what's your plans now? Are you staying in town, or are you going to try to go back and forth?
So I only live about 45, 50 minutes from here, so I'm going to drive home. Probably head out of here in an hour or two, get home before the snow starts. Hopefully I have that top bye tomorrow to get to the round, make the top 16, and then don't have to be back here till like 10:30, 11. So give myself plenty of time to drive back in the morning.
You're going to know a lot after this squad probably, right?
Yeah, this is the telling squad because the first squad's hard to tell. You have the most bowlers, usually the best bowlers that put up some high scores. Then as the day goes on, you get a lot of re-entries, a lot of people trying to make their way in. So scores usually taper off as the day goes on.
Well, and here's the other thing, too. You're weeding out a lot of the top players. They've already either made it or they're bowling the first 2 and they're done or whatever that may be. And your new players coming in start to shrink a little bit. And again, guys are just hoping that the third time's a charm, as they're bowling.
Yeah, like this squad, you'll get guys like Jimmy and EJ that are both already in the top 4. So they might better their score, but they're not going to take up an extra spot. So sometimes that's nice for guys right on the cut line. They have those type of guys that are in the field but not taking up an extra spot.
Well, on lane 14 right now is the 2018 champion, Ryan Birchfield. And I believe that's Casey Mattingly, isn't it?
Yes,
on lane 13 there.
Yeah, he's been hot in the Norwood area there. He's been putting up a lot of 300s, kind of like Ryan has in Lafayette.
Looks like Matt Sanders is going to get off to a good start. Be somewhere in the 230s, I believe.
So we talked about the runaway Brooklyn. It is also very easy to take 3 off the right like Ryan did there. If you just get a few boards to the right at the wrong angle with the wrong ball, it is easy to take 3 off the right.
Well, and the frustrating thing, too, is if you have, let's say you could strike for 210, and he were to do that, and then all of a sudden you go 203, people might not think that's much, but it's amazing after 4 squads and over 400 entries how close it is amongst a handful of bowlers for a spot in the top 48 or even into the top 16 guaranteed.
Yeah, with this tournament only being 3 games, every pin is crucial. So most tournaments, when it's a longer format, sometimes you'll waste a fill ball to try a different ball, but this one you almost need to try to get every pin you can because, for example, even me, the first squad, I was 5 pins away from being third. And then I was ahead of, say, 8th by only 3 pins. So that's in a, 8-pin swing, there's from 3rd to 8th. So that could be the difference from getting a top 16 bye to even making the top 48.
Yeah, and you know, from past experience, and obviously you are the first player in this tournament's history to be the #1 seed and run the table. But from a lot of experience, too, is you don't want to bowl those 2 games in the top 48.
No. Sometimes I've done it before. It can help you get your feet wet, get used to the lanes, get your kind of momentum going for match play. But if you don't have to bowl them, you don't want to have to bowl them.
No. Well, and you know they're going to be different because they're going to be on the other end of the house where they're tighter, and then you're going to come down. And that's the one thing people always, ask me about. The thing that I've learned about this center is lanes 1 through about 14, 16 are pretty hook. I mean, there's a lot of hook. You get down into, then you get like maybe about 4 or 5 pairs where it's a little bit tighter, but then you get down past like 20, 25 on down, then it gets a lot tighter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost the Lafayette or the opposite of Arrowhead and Lafayette, where the first 10 are significantly tighter and then they start to hook more. The low end here is definitely a lot more hook than the rest of the house, except the exception of the very end pair where I finished. They hooked quite a bit, whether it be that's where they started oiling so they could sit for a while, or just being by the wall. They hooked quite a bit, but the rest of the high end pairs are pretty tight.
All right, bowlers have moved their pairs, and believe me, when you talk about moving lanes, it's a move.
Yeah, Jeff Circle, make sure you get across the whole house. I think it's skip 7, bowl on 8. Is that what we're doing?
I think it's skip 6.
Skip 6, bowl on 7. So
yeah.
You definitely get your way across the house to get a taste of each end, like we were talking about. You don't want someone matching up on one certain section, only moving a pair, getting a bowl on the low end the whole time, or getting a bowl on the high end the whole time. So Jeff Circle tries to make every tournament he runs as fair as possible, bowling across the center and whatnot.
Yeah, and especially when you have a center that has its own. You talk about places, for example, and I think it's Brunswick Carolier or whatever in New Jersey. They talk about it being, like there's different bays, even though all the lanes are connected in one side. There's different sections to the house that are totally different, and these players all have that mapped out in their mind. They know going in that, okay, historically this pair is 2 or 3 boards tighter. It's kind of like a PGA Tour player's, yardage book. You put notes and things in there as you go back to remember what's going on as you move throughout a tournament.
Yeah, there's a lot of centers that have added lanes as time's gone on. So those, say, 10 or 12 lanes that get added on are a lot tighter than other lanes. There's some centers where they have the majority of their leagues on the high end or the low end. So those will play different. A lot of centers put their open play in front of where the counter is, so those are a little different than the other end. So it's just always good to know how a certain center plays from end to end and from pair to pair, because they all have their own characteristics. Even different racks. Sometimes you'll get some centers that the racks are just a little bit off on a certain pair, so that can make a big difference.
So I was going to ask you how. So the trip out to Florida, weather was nice. Did Addie enjoy herself?
She did. Yeah, it was great. We flew in a Saturday morning. I got to practice a little bit on Saturday. Then we went out to dinner every night. Enjoyed the weather. Like I said, it was the highs were between 75 and 80, and the lows were in like the 65 to 70. So it was really hard to beat weather-wise. And then every day I only bowled probably 2 or 3 hours, and then we kind of had the rest of the time to enjoy ourselves. So we went to the beach one day. We went down to the pool a couple different days. So it was really nice to have that little. We flew in Saturday morning and flew out Tuesday morning. So we had little 4-day vacation in there.
And you can get used to that weather, can't you?
Yeah, it is nice because the PBA, it seems like, is going more to Florida nowadays. The World Series of Bowling is going to be down in Tampa. The Tournament of Champions is actually back in Jupiter. So the PBA is kind of setting up shop in Florida now because they know it's going to stay open. So,
Well, and you had to think when Bolero bought the PBA Tour that they were going to go to a lot of Bolero centers.
Oh,
I mean, it's primarily going to be. Now, that's good and bad. One, because you have a home. The bad thing, in a sense, would be, is that going to impact centers like Woodland, who's hosted a PBA Tour event for decades? Will that impact their chance at getting a tour stop?
yeah, it'll be interesting to see going forward if they try to stick to primarily Bolero centers, because you will lose some of the classic centers like Woodland that's had a tournament for as long as I can remember. And then also a lot of the Bolero centers have they were AMF centers, so they have AMF HPLs, which tend to hook more and kind of favor a certain type of player. Like myself, honestly, that has a little spinnier release, can get the ball through the fronts. Other people have trouble with their ball hooking in the front part of the lane, not quite getting down lane to carry. So I'm not necessarily mad about it because I love the HPL lane surface. It just has a little bit more friction, which with my release kind of really favors me to give me a little bit more room, and especially my ball going through the pins.
Yeah, but everybody talks about, like, I'm going to use Woodland as an example because Chad and I enjoy going there, and when the yearly stop goes there and we have a chance to talk with some of the players that we've always talked to, Brad and Kyle and some of the other guys, they talk about no matter what stop is at Woodland, winning there and getting that banner hung in the players' lounge is a big deal for those guys because it's the who's who of bowling that has won in Woodland Bowl.
Yeah, I'm maybe mistaken, but I think Woodland is either the only center or one of the only centers to host every single major. So that's pretty prestigious, and they've had a tournament for a long time. So winning there is definitely a big deal for a lot of guys on tour. So yeah, we're watching the people start their second game now, which is we were talking about the transition game more or less. You get the people that put up some big games on their first pair because they were able to kind of find a groove, and now they're going to something completely different, especially down on this low end. You're getting people making the move from the high end. So that's a big challenge here. If you can move from the low end to the high end and not have to make that jump, for me, that's a big advantage. I don't know about you over the years. If you didn't have to make the turn, it kind of helped out a lot.
Yeah, coming from down from the high end down to the low end, it's so hard, especially if you're down on the high end per se, and you come off a great game in game two. It's hard mentally to tell yourself as you come down to, let's say, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, somewhere in that realm, of making a ball change or making a drastic change with your feet. Let's say you just came off a 240 game and you're feeling really comfortable. You like the ball in your hand. You like the line you're playing. It's hard to tell yourself, okay, Scott or Zach, I have to move 3 or 4, 5 boards maybe, but I might even consider making this ball change. That's hard to do when you're coming off a great game.
Yeah, for sure. And only being 3 games, it is very hard to commit to a ball and make it happen just in 3 games. A lot of tournaments are 5, 6, or 8 game blocks, so you can have some time to make a change and figure it out. But with 3 games, you really have to commit to every move you make and make sure it's an aggressive one and make sure you fully commit to it so you can execute the best shot you can.
Well, and that's what separates the players. Is the player's ability to forecast that move and have confidence that this is what's going to work. A lot of guys won't do that, and 3 or 4 frames later, they're trying to figure that out, and by then, your qualifying squad could be over from making it or not making it at that point.
Yeah, you have to be able to trust yourself to know if you made a good shot or not, and then know what reaction you got out of that. For example, my last game, last set, I thought I threw a pretty good shot to start off the game, throwing the same ball I was throwing game 2, and almost missed the head pin left. So that's one of those things you have to know your arsenal and know what move you need to make to adjust for that. And I was able to go from the Obsession Tour down to the Verge Pearl and moved almost 10 boards left, and then I threw a 3-bagger right after that, which is kind of luck, kind of some skill, but every ball change is a little bit of a guess, but you have to be able to know what your equipment does and know how to throw it, where to throw it to get the result you need.
Ryan Sidney there on lane 7. I haven't seen Ryan in a long time. He had quit bowling for a while, and now he's back to playing in the tournaments, so forth. I hadn't seen Ryan in a long time. I believe he went down to Southern Indiana.
Yeah, I think out of Evansville maybe.
Could have been, possibly. I know he was down in the Kentucky, close to the Kentucky area. Was bowling some in Louisville, I believe. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is it's hard to fathom that a ball that you use down on one end of the house to shoot 240 just won't work, and you're only skipping 6 pairs of lanes, you know.
Yeah, like I said, the ends are completely different before anyone throws a shot, and then you're following people maybe doing something completely different than you're doing. You could be following someone throwing urethane outside. You could be following someone throwing the high-end reactive ball with 500 grit on it, going 25-5. So it's very challenging going pair to pair here, just based on who you follow and what pair you hit at what time.
Another full squad here at the Indiana State Masters. Scott Gilmore, Zach Weidman here in the broadcast booth. Chad Lester manning the chat room. Again, if you got any questions, you want to ask Zach a question or anything like that, anything except for about the Players' Championship, he'll answer. And, I mean, you could ask him anything. Now, I don't know it, just anything, but what would they want to know about Zach anyway? Anything peculiar, like weird food you like?
I am probably the least picky person when it comes to food. I'm the type that'll try anything once, and I am not a very picky eater. So, nothing. I'm the opposite of some of my friends that eat chicken tenders every other meal. I know you might know who I'm talking about there, that eat chicken tenders and hamburgers and pizza for pretty much every meal. But I'm the opposite.
Yeah, well, T.J. Schmidt was a chicken strip, and that was it. I mean, it had chicken.
Yep.
It didn't matter what it was. Wherever we went to eat, it was going to be some kind of chicken.
Yeah, we're missing TJ this year. He's a past champion and been here as long as I can remember, so definitely missing him here this year.
I was going to ask Chad, you got any chat stuff going on, or you want to encourage anyone to ask some questions here about Zach?
Well, it's not about Zach. It's about you, Scott.
Oh, gosh.
Jacob Wright. Does that name ring a bell?
You don't even have to ask the question.
No, it's not even a question. It's a comment. He said it's hard to fathom because you're a left-handed bowler.
Hard to fathom what?
I don't know. That's what he just said.
Hard to fathom. You know, Zach, you know Jacob quite well.
I do.
And you really have to know Jacob's sense of humor to understand everything that you could read into just that comment right there, right?
Yeah, Jake is one of my best friends, but he also probably has the driest, most sarcastic sense of humor you could ever imagine from a person.
I had the luxury of bowling league for a couple years with Jake, and yeah, it's quite unique. But you know, Jacob back in his day, you know, obviously you said he was getting back into bowling and a little bit more, but Jacob was a talented player, still is.
Yeah, he was one of Purdue's best bowlers there for a few years, and took some time off right after college, but now he's getting back into it and starting to bowl some more tournaments. Been making some grip changes and taking it more seriously again, which is good to see because he was very talented.
Well, he had to make all that money, you know.
Take all the money off you at League at Landmark back in the day?
Yeah. No, I never got into. Jacob was known for playing fifth arrow right out of the gate.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he was the lefties, you know, never got right of second arrow, and Jake never saw right of second arrow.
Well, he's clarifying his comment. The comment was in reference to Scott's comment that it was hard to fathom Zach had to move so much between games 2 and 5 or 2 and 3.
Yes.
Well, and
So yeah, it was about lefties never having to move.
But let's think about this. And you made a comment in our interview that Jacob actually helped you on a live stream.
Yeah. So we crossed over 1 year at Purdue, so he got to know my game a little bit then, and then we've stayed close ever since. So he can watch my game, and he is very knowledgeable when it comes to lane play and ball motion. So he was watching me at the Players Championship, kind of telling me what I was doing wrong physically, and then helping me get matched up ball reaction-wise. So he is, even taking a few years off, he is still very knowledgeable when it comes to physical game and lane play and ball motion.
Well, I have to tell Jake that, you know, some of his former teammates at Purdue are here. Ryan is down there. Who else? I believe he bowled with Devin Mazzullo, right? Obviously bowled with TJ.
Yeah.
And Ryan Schlosser is who I was referring to.
Oh, I didn't even see Schlosser here.
Yeah, he's got the green shirt. It's down here right by like 13 and 14.
Oh.
I believe he's on the TV pair if I remember.
There he is.
Yeah.
He bowls, I think, one tournament a year, and it's this one.
It used to be the State Masters and the USBC Masters.
Yeah, I actually, the first time I went out to the USBC Masters was with TJ and Ryan, and it was a good time rooming with the two of them, hearing them go back and forth because they crossed over at Purdue, and they bicker like an old married couple.
Well, that makes me laugh because it's so true. Schlosser's another one of those with a unique sense of humor. Schlosser is an old soul, even older than Jacob Wright's soul, right? And that's hard to believe. As you laugh, because you know.
Oh, Schlosser, famous for the slow hook, is almost lofting it over the right gutter, playing so straight. That was impressive. I've only ever seen him really hook the ball.
I will say, Schlosser's always been talented with manipulating a ball.
Yeah.
A very underrated player when it comes to having a little bit of extra tools in the toolbox per se.
Yeah, I think honestly a lot of Purdue bowlers in the past have been very underrated. I mean, for the last probably 10 to 12 years at least, or even back to when you were at Purdue, I feel like Purdue was always under the radar. We were always very competitive, made nationals a lot, but never got the attention of some of the bigger names. But we had a lot of very, very good players that didn't quite get the recognition they should. Probably starting back to when you were there with Ed.
Yeah, absolutely. We had some good teams that a lot of players or a lot of other college teams didn't want to bowl when it came to, like at the ITCs, what used to be called the Intercollegiate Bowling Championships. Now it's the ITCs. They didn't want to bowl us because when you came to a Baker and it's, obviously 5 guys bowling in one game, we were always known as good shot makers. And you had the likes of Andy Dole and players that you wouldn't even think about, Scott Tucker, and obviously your boss, Scott Savage, who was very talented in his own right as a young player. And then it moved on, and we always thought, who are you going to pass the torch to? And then all of a sudden, you come in, and TJ's there, and obviously TJ Schmidt was the College Player of the Year. That showed you how talented he is. Mm-hmm. And then you had, you always had those role-type players like a Ryan Schlosser or a Devin Mazzullo who didn't wow you but were good enough for you guys, for a team to win, right?
Yeah, we always had people that may be a little bit better on the fresh, so they knew their role the first couple games. They were going to get their big games, and then we had some guys that struggled on the fresh, but they would come in the last couple games and be able to put up some 240s, 250s the last couple. So we always knew what each other's job was. We always tried to be good shot makers, like you said. And when things got really gritty, especially at sectionals, when the lanes would get really dry, that's where we kind of shined because we could keep the ball in play. We weren't lofting the gutter like a lot of schools did. We would kind of just what we call shim it, keep it around the head pin, leave something we could make, catch a double here or there, and that's when we would kind of shine.
Well, here's another Purdue bowler you guys might remember. Well, Scott does. I don't know about Zach, but Mike Eater. He's in the chat.
Yeah, Mike Eater. Yeah.
He's remembering all the Purdue trips.
Yeah, I could probably throw something out to Mike Eater if he's listening, and it's 2 words, and I'm not going to explain what it is, but it's chocolate starfish, and he'll know exactly what that is. We won't get into details, but yeah, Mike Eater, I felt like maybe one of the most underrated players that I've bowled with at any time. Mike was so talented, and he had such a great touch and a lot of hand. I will say this, for a guy not as tall as you would think, he had the biggest set of hands as far as his thumb hole was just ginormous. But Mike, an extremely talented player, and I believe right now is a pilot. I don't know for what airline, but is a pilot. And when you're flying the friendly skies, you might have a former Purdue bowler, Mike Eater, as your pilot. And obviously Purdue churns out a lot of pilots that are flying. So, but yeah, Mike Eater was an extremely talented player, and he was right there as kind of the start of really ascending Purdue into some respect, because before Mike was there, we were the laughing. I mean, they didn't even go to try to win. It was a drinking party, for those guys in college, and they would, travel, and they didn't care what they bowled. Then all of a sudden you got certain players in, and then it became more competitive, and now college bowling is a huge sport in the college world. And you have universities that, when I bowled, I never heard, they didn't exist, and now you hear some really weird universities.
Yeah, there's some schools that you've never heard of, and they just get some money thrown at them, and they start bowling teams, and it's a great way for kids to get an education by being able to get some scholarship money to go to these different schools. Purdue, unfortunately, being a club team, we didn't get that luxury, so we went there because we loved Purdue and wanted to get a good education, and then happened to have a lot of good bowlers come together too.
Chad, you got something?
Yeah, Mike said he didn't want to get in that type of chat.
Oh, yeah. I shouldn't have probably said anything, but, he's known for that back in the days. And we had Brian Nauta, who we called Nacho, because Brian always ate nachos. So, yeah, you had it's memories that you'll never forget. I mean, it's great travel. And really, it's like you had made a comment, Zach, how Purdue never got the respect or love that it should have from the college bowling world. It's because you went there for an education. And you had to really work on your grades in order to stay on the team and have your eligibility. How many schools, and I'm not going to name players or schools, but how many times did you see a kid bowl for a certain school in the first semester and he was gone second semester because he didn't make grades?
Yeah, there was a lot of kids that just went to a certain school just to bowl. Maybe didn't even want to go to school. They just went there to bowl, and doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike said he's with JetBlue now, and he's actually in Boston right now watching the stream. So he's probably laying over there, waiting on his flight to leave, whatever. But, yeah, thanks for watching, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you chiming in on the chat.
Yeah, I appreciate to hear he's not in the air right now flying, watching this.
Yeah. Well, they have autopilot.
Oh, that's true.
Isn't that true?
Those things take off and land themselves.
Haven't you watched the movie Airplane?
I have. I think that's pretty accurate.
Isn't that accurate?
I thought so. I took that as a documentary on how air travel works, but
based on a true story.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, right now it's still dry, and it can stay that way for as long as possible. I know your phone's probably blowing up right now. Everybody's saying, "Man, I can't believe you're on the live stream," right?
Yeah, I'm waiting on a text from Jake, but still hasn't come through yet. I'm surprised he hasn't given me some crap about being on here, but
oh, good old Jake. God, I hate to say I actually miss Jake. I don't know why, but he dished out a lot, and I took it. You know, you had to from Jake, and you never knew when he was serious anyway.
Yeah, it is hard to know when he was serious and when he was just trying to get you going. And sometimes he liked to get people going just for his own amusement.
Let's see. We are still waiting on scoring for game number 1 here. I'm sure Jeff Circle, a phenomenal tournament director, he has a tendency sometimes to forget about little old us here in the broadcast booth. And if you saw what he goes through in order to make this, he showed me one day how he put together the double elimination bracket, and it was the most confusing thing I've ever seen in my life. And I mean, I might as well have been reading something in Chinese or whatever. I was like, it just shows you the amount of time and energy that goes into putting on an event like this.
Yeah, Jeff is one of the most organized, detail-oriented guys I know. He looks at everything and wants to make sure everything's done right. And how he gets the double elimination set up on Sunday, he has it planned out to where you know what pair you're going to when you start, and each round, if you happen to lose, where you're going to go and then where you're going after that. It is pretty crazy how he has that all mapped out.
And you got to make sure you follow the right line, right?
Yeah, it's challenging as a bowler just following it, so I can't imagine what it's like for Jeff actually coming up with that schedule.
Yeah, it's crazy. But that just kind of shows you the dedication that he has, and his objective is to put on the best event possible, and you can see why the State Masters has grown into what it has.
Yeah, this has probably been one of the most successful tournaments over the past 7 or 8 years at least. I don't know what it was like before, but I know as long as I've been bowling over the last few years, it's been getting bigger and bigger, barring any crazy weather coming in. But it seems like we get people from all over the state coming in just because they're great hosts here at Championship Lanes, and having the casino close doesn't hurt. I know a lot of guys like to go over there after a squad.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a stereotype with that's another sorry Luke, if you're watching or listening, but that is one of those. Oh, you got page 1. Why don't you go through? Go ahead.
So it looks like for this squad, Logan Spratt started out with 266. Eric Schultmeyer? I'm not a very for everyone pronouncing.
I would say Schultmer.
Yeah. For me having the last name I have, I am not very good at pronouncing unique last names.
I'll let you butcher them all.
Brandon Combs had a 246. EJ started out with 243, even having the carry issues he did. Mark Wilson, 240. Dexter Herod, 236. Trent Jarvis, 232. Matt Sanders, 231. He bowled the first squad. I think shot around 620 or so.
He shot 250 his first game.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah, I know he didn't finish very well. Oh, he had 645 his first
645,
squad.
yeah.
And he's 190, 190.
He told me he's bowling again because he didn't think that would hold up for the top 16.
Gotcha. Yeah, so he started out hot again. Not quite as good as he did last squad, but we'll see if his second and third game are a little bit better. Jeremy Hook, 231. Rodney Underwood, 229. Clint Million, 227. Daniel Brown, 222. Kevin McCune, 222. He bowled good first squad, probably just bowled again for brackets.
Yeah, he went. He had the 666 series, so.
Yeah, you don't want to qualify with that. That's probably not a good omen going into match play. I'm not superstitious, like
you
I
said. Omen.
But I am a little stitious and would not want to go into match play with that.
You're not super, but you are stitious?
Just a little. Just
right.
a little stitious.
All right.
And then rounding out the top 32, Brendan Holford with a 216.
See, you got two. Did you get two sides? Oh, no, this is page 3. I see what you're saying. You have two sides, and then I'm page 3.
Looks like Jimmy started out with 213 the first game, and then see any other notable names. Gene Perez started at 206.
Well, people that you know. Let's see. Devin Mazzullo shot 192. Tim Mack 191. Ryan Sidney, who's bowling good now, he's got a 5-bagger here. He shot 186 his first game, so he has a chance here to improve on that. And you know, you go 186, 240, and then you're just telling yourself, just 2-0 would be a great score, right? So you could stay in that 620. I felt like 620 was a lock in anything.
This tournament is very unique, only being 3 games. You could shoot 250, 260, and then kind of coast your way to 620, 630, or you could just kind of grind it out going 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 180, 210, 2-0. It's just, there's a lot of different ways to get to that score, and you see it every year. You'll have some guys sneak in either starting out with a 260 or 270 or finishing with a 260 or 270, and then going into match play, they might get a little lost because they're a one-game wonder, if you will.
Yeah, and Gene Perez, I don't know if you mentioned him, 206 start. Gene shot 570 in the first series. So
yeah, I talked to him between squads, and he said he felt like he hit the 1-2 every time, but just could not carry. So I don't know if he made some adjustments in the break to help carry, but
obviously it didn't pan out real well in game 1. 205 for him is, for other guys, they're ecstatic, right? But for Gene, he's got bigger expectations than that. So again, 206 for Gene in that first game. And then really it looks like right now, after game 1 and A squad complete, 54 guys are even on the nose, so or better. So Jeremy Adler, who bowled well in the first series, he shot 626 in the first squad. He's shot 197. Ryan Burton, we talked about earlier, he shot 196. So again, a lot going on. Of course, Logan Spratt, as you mentioned earlier, Zach, a chance here with 266 his first game. And really, to be honest with you, when you shoot a game like that, you cannot bowl defensively the rest of the way.
Yeah, this is a tournament where if you start out with 190, you're not mad about it, but also you're not thrilled either. You don't want to have to shoot that 230 your last game to get there. I would much rather start out with a big game and then kind of be able to settle in and just worry about making spares, because if you get in the position where you feel like you need to strike, that's when you have to make that ball change or have to make that release change, and you have a bigger chance of splitting, which is not fun. Looks like Schlosser's getting into it down there on lane 12. You saw him on the edge of the screen. He just got the first 1 or 2 in the 10th there for a chance at a decent game.
I'm looking at the scores right now, Zach, and I see a couple of guys, bowling well, but boy, there is a lot of really low scores.
Yeah, we talked about this second game being the transition game and just being kind of tricky for a lot of guys. You got Gene bowling here on lane 15. Greek Church, got the 7 out, but even on the left side, throwing urethane, it is still so touchy. If you just miss a little in and have a little mishit with your release to go through the face and pay the ultimate price with a big split.
Well, and I talked to Gene before this squad started, and he was going to bowl this one and didn't know whether or not he was going to bowl any more because of, obviously, the weather forecast that they're calling for this evening and into tomorrow morning. But he thought, well, what I might do, too, is I might bowl, go home, get some stuff that, for an overnight stay, and then come back and bowl the last squad.
Yeah, that's actually what I did. I brought a bag just in case I was going to have to stay later to bowl one of the later squads. If I needed to get a hotel and needed to stay, if things got bad, I would. This is one of those tournaments where guys from out of town staying just a couple minutes away almost have an advantage over the local guys that are having to drive 30 minutes to an hour to get back and forth.
Yeah, I would love to go home and pick up my Purple Hammer sitting in my closet, just for something to, for a different look per se. But you know what? That's a 3-hour round trip.
Yeah,
not going to happen.
Especially when you got to do this and you're got a lot of stuff going on. Especially preparing for tomorrow, having a lot of exciting action of broadcasting all day for the match play. That's where this tournament really begins in my eyes. In qualifying, you're just trying to get through, get to that top 48, and then get down to the top 32, and then it's a whole nother tournament.
I hate qualifying. I always I would love to have a whole, like going back to the, I would say, the high roller days, having a whole tournament, nothing but match play.
Yeah.
Like you draw, Would you be willing to pay $100 for one game?
$100, yes. Those high roller days where people were paying $500 or $1,000, that is something completely different. $1,100
for one game.
Yeah, that is a different breed of people, and I've never experienced that, so I don't know exactly what it's like. I think they had some other sweepers and stuff to go along with it, so guys could make some money up in some other ways, and it wasn't like they were traveling hours and hours for one game because they had some other sweepers.
And there was multiple events.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
but
Yeah, I bowled that in '96. One game, you're out. You got sweepers with it. There was all kinds of sweepers all the way up till midnight.
Well, and I think
it was a lot of fun.
And I do remember one year Chris Barnes lost his very first match, but he still made like 40 or 50,000 that year.
The year that I went out, he lost his very first match, but made like $70,000 in sweeper money.
And that's what was crazy back in those days of late 90s, early 2000s, before some of those guys went out on tour, is some guys could make more money in the amateur ranks versus professionals. So that's why you saw a lot of guys like Barnes not go out on tour till a little bit later when some of the high rollers and megabucks started going away.
Well, he didn't make that move until the PBA was bought out by the guy that was involved in Microsoft, I believe. And when they started paying $50,000 for first at all these stops, that's when all the big amateurs went pro. Nick Vogelsang, you had, Chris Barnes, Brad Angelo, a lot of those guys that were all what we call the megabuck guys. Because remember, if you go back to the late 90s, they had the World Team Challenge. You had those guys there were stories that those guys would go from stop to stop, intentionally lose so they could go bowl the next one, and then somehow would win one in order to qualify for the finals. There was always rumors of those guys doing that, intentionally bagging, because it paid so much money in brackets. There were so many brackets that they would make thousands of dollars a week doing that, and they didn't want to give that up because once you qualified or won one, you couldn't bowl anymore.
Yeah, I've heard that about the World Team Challenge, which is before my time, but I thought it'd be a cool idea to have something like that nowadays. But like you said, stuff like that probably ended up kind of doing it in because you had guys not valuing the integrity of the actual tournament, just going to make money,
And you're always going to have super teams.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just all there is to it. When those guys can bowl, there's no cap, there's no nothing. It would be interesting to see if they could ever bring that back. I would love to. I'm telling you, you would enjoy it. You bowl college. Team bowling is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy. I would love to see more team event tournaments. I enjoy the trio stuff that you see during the Thanksgiving time frame up in Fort Wayne. I just enjoy those elements. Would like to see more of it. Singles is fun, but there's nothing more than bowling with 3 or 4 other guys and bowling in a team tournament setting. Devin Mazzullo down here on the TV pair.
We are in for a good time. Devin's going to shoot 260 this game. I feel it.
You look better with your mask on. Of course, that's what they tell me. I didn't recognize you with your mask on. You look better.
Got players moving around, getting ready for game 3, and this is the crucial game. You got guys that either bowled well their first game, kind of fell off their second game, and now they're still probably sitting around that 370 to 400 mark, trying to make a move up to the plus 20 to plus 30 range. You got guys that started out slow, figured it out game 2. Now they're trying to keep that momentum going forward. Just got all kinds of different things going on.
Well, and I just watched Trent Burns go through the face and leave the 4-7-8. And that's one of those elements. He's looking at, okay, if he doubles, he's 2-0. Now all of a sudden he's 180, and he's got a tough spare here. And he makes it. But, there again, there's 20 pins. And when you're trying to, just squeeze whatever you can out of your set.
Let's just talk about what if that was a Greek church, though. That's the other critical thing in this tournament. If your misses split versus getting out, tripping that 10-pin late or that 4-pin late to get out of a split or getting out that 6-10 to avoid the Greek church, that's pretty crucial, too, because now you're talking about you're worried about striking, then you leave something that you can make versus a split. It's a big swing there. And then you add in Brooklands. People, this tournament, they're so hard that if you miss, we were talking about, if you miss 4 or 5 boards, you go in Brooklyn and have the opportunity for a strike. If you only miss 2 or 3, going through the face, leaving a big split.
Well, and that's the other thing, too, the debate between 3 and 4 games. 4 games, people feel like it takes the luck factor out because you know very well you can shoot a 240 game, and in all reality, it should have been a 190.
Yeah.
But you snow plow something, you get a couple Brooklyns or some light trip of the 2 or 3 pin late. You know, there is some luck into that of qualifying because then you could go 190, and you're in.
Yeah, that's the 3 games is a unique format. It's some people love it, some people hate it. It gets a lot of the average bowlers here, though, because I think they think for 3 games they can come out and shoot 630 because they've done it in league all the time and easy enough to shoot a big game, get lucky, and get in. Whereas once you get more and more games, the cream usually rises to the top when you get longer and longer formats. I mean, the Scratch Classic even, you see 4 games, and that extra game separates out the people that are kind of just getting lucky and getting in, and then the more talented bowlers that can kind of figure out the lanes that maybe struggled the first game or 2 and need a big game to get in.
You know, and people have always talked, you know, about why Jeff doesn't have a 4-game qualifier. Well, but if you add a game, you immediately take out a squad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to change anything about this format because he's gotten so many entries over the past few years. Like, we're already full of the first 2 squads. Assume we're probably getting close to full for the next squad. The last squad of the day is usually a little smaller, but I know at least a couple years ago he filled all 4 squads.
Yeah, and you don't know if there will be anything that will impact, weather-wise, if that will impact the last one or not. Guys that are like, you know, I better get out of here or what have you.
Yeah, I know some guys either have to work during the day on Saturday, so they'll get off work and then come up here and bowl, or they'll just bowl all day. And so, like you said, it might be harder for them to just stick around for that last squad knowing that there's bad weather, not either wanting to drive here just to bowl it or stick around and would rather get out of town.
Well, and here's the thing. I could bowl 12 games. Physically, I could bowl 12 games. Mentally, I don't know if I could bowl 12 games on this. And I think that's the underlying factor is what that does to you mentally, bowling this. It's such a grind, especially if, you know, some guys are fortunate. They come out and they shoot 240, 250 or 240, 240, and all of a sudden, game 3, it's just like bowling at home, you know, in your league setting. But you get, if you're constantly grinding every game for every pin, it wears on you.
Yeah, and this one's a unique tournament, too, where only being 3 games, you'll get guys that finish with that 240 or 250. They still only shot maybe 570, so they're out of the number, but then they get that motivation for the next squad. They think they have it all figured out. Then they play completely different for the next squad, and then they get frustrated because they thought they had it figured out.
I'm going to be one of those guys because I went back in between before this squad started, and I went back to my stuff and took a couple of sanding discs, and, you know, we're sanding some stuff down and to see if I could just change the reaction a little bit. I took a couple balls and hit it with 2000 Aberlon and to see. After I did it, I looked at it, I'm like, is that too dull?
Yeah.
But, you know, it doesn't take long for the lane to shine it back up. So
are you going to give it another shot here, the next squad?
Yeah, I'm going to bowl 430 and see what happens, and then I'm done. We'll call the action at 7:30, and then we'll be back. The nice thing is, if I don't make it, regardless if I do, I'll get to sleep in a little bit. You know, we were here at 6:15 this morning. You know, 5:30 alarm clock goes off pretty early in the morning, you know.
Yeah, I bet, especially not having the coffee. I don't know how you got up that early and didn't have a cup of that hotel coffee.
Well, it wasn't even that. I didn't even come here. The coffee here is actually fantastic. I will have to say, if you want to come and watch a tournament, now obviously this year with COVID, they have asked for no spectators, but if you want to come and watch a tournament, there's plenty of room to sit. The food here is incredible.
Amazing.
And, you know, the coffee's great. I always, you know, would get a cup of coffee in the morning when we got set up. We just got so busy here that before you know it, it's 8:30. And then at that point in time, I had to finish things up, and then we had to go off to get ready to bowl in the 9:30 squad. But
Yeah, Angie and her staff here do a great job from, like you said, maintaining the lanes. The snack bar has great food. The bar has a great selection, and they just remodeled it a few months ago, so it's great in there. So everything here is top notch.
well, and there's always centers you go to that if you're at a tournament and you got a break, you'll go somewhere to get something to eat. This one, you're like, all right, well, I'll go in the bar and order. You'll eat here. I mean, the food is fantastic, and like you said, Angie Collop does a great job. We're waiting on our chocolate chip cookies. I know that. They always make chocolate chip cookies down there, and usually Angie always drops off a plate full.
That does sound very nice. I always like to have something sweet after I eat, so I had some boneless wings and fries, so I could definitely go for a cookie.
You got a Werther's Original.
Yeah, I don't want to suck on it right now, though, because I don't know what sucking on a Werther's Original sounds like in this microphone, but I'm guessing it's not pleasant.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure that people at home don't want to hear the sound of hard candy getting chewed through
Well,
the microphone.
it's as you go from side to side, it clips every tooth across you.
It's probably actually there's a thing on YouTube now like the ASMR, so it's probably people listen to people eating and stuff as like a thing now. I
You
guess.
can do
I
a
don't-
TikTok thing on that, right?
We could probably get 1 million views on TikTok just me eating a Werther's Original. I don't TikTok.
And reminding you of your grandmother's house.
Yeah.
How's your mom and dad? I haven't seen them in a while, obviously, with all the COVID.
Yeah, they're good. They are very disappointed they couldn't come. This is always one of their favorite tournaments to come to and just hang out and watch. But they're doing good. They took the year off from bowling this year just because everything. My dad got to go with me to Wisconsin, so that was cool to be able to spend time with him and let him watch me bowl again. Because they used to take me everywhere as a youth bowler to watch me, and then I kind of went out and did my own thing. So it was cool to have him with me and be able to watch me. And my mom's always supporting me and sending me words of encouragement and stuff. So it's really nice to have them behind me kind of on this run I'm going on.
Absolutely, anytime. And I know your mom and dad have always been heavily involved in your bowling career, and I know it's got to be exciting to at least share that with your dad. I know your mom was probably disappointed. She's probably just as disappointed that she didn't get to partake in the nice weather in Florida.
Yeah, I know. She was definitely looking forward. That was her first question when she found out I made it, is how many spectators were allowed to come and whatnot. So she was a little disappointed that she couldn't go down and take advantage of the Florida sun.
Hey Zach, the chat room wants to hear you eat that.
Who asked for that?
Kyle Hallgarth.
Whoa,
Kyle Hallgarth.
you just butchered that.
Sorry,
beyond
Kyle.
belief.
He is a greenfield bowler. I think he might be in the minority of people that want to hear a Werther's Original 8 with a microphone.
He said
1 inch
10
away
out of
from my
10.
mouth.
I picture now. All of a sudden, I picture Zach as the Tootsie Roll Pop owl. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Werther's Original?
Yeah, let's see. I think a Werther's is much smaller than a Tootsie Pop, so I could probably have this thing gone pretty fast, but it's still probably not a very pleasant sound. I'm going to save that for the drive home.
Yeah. There's nothing more relaxing than you had a bad day and you pop in a Werther's Original and it just changes everything.
It does.
Anytime I can help, Zach, you let me know. I did send some stuff to the pro shop, though. Yeah, I got an order put in.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm
Well, Luke will probably get it to you here in about 6 to 8 weeks, knowing the pace Luke moves. But I'll try to probe him along here to get it taken care of.
well, it's coming via donkey from, it's slow shipping from Mexico, so it's going to take a while before it gets there. I can't wait, though. I should have ordered it long before, so that way I'd have one or two for this weekend, but.
What all did you order?
I ordered a knockout.
Awesome. Good ball.
I ordered I'm really kind of excited because I've heard a lot of things about it, and I haven't thrown a Columbia 300 ball in a while, but I ordered a Command.
Yeah, I've heard some good things from that. I talked to a couple people. They say that it's the cleanest and most angular asymmetric ball we've had. Someone compared it to a Verge Pearl on steroids, so just a much stronger Verge Pearl. So when that's not quite enough, you can go to that Command.
I'm not a huge Pearl guy, but Brad Bowman, God, he shoots 300 like every other day with it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to give a Columbia 300 bowl a shot. And then I ordered both the Obsession and Obsession Tour. You got to try the Hammer stuff as much as you can.
Yeah, they have been very good the last few releases have been all solid. Being on staff with Hammer, I might be a little partial, but they have probably the most complete line top to bottom of any of the companies. So I'm honored to be on Hammer and be able to represent them and throw some of the best balls on the market. Just watch Kevin McCune throw a strike there on lane 4.
Oh, looky there.
And
coffee.
Just brought cookies and brought Scott some coffee. He's going to be up till 3 in the morning now because of this coffee.
There you go. Set those right in front of Zach, So now we get to see Zach eating the chocolate chip cookie while he commentates on. Oh, that one looked. Oh, you just touched that one. Now you got to eat that one too.
I'm having both of them.
Oh, okay. Wow.
This
So that's what I got to do. I just got to go like this.
Yeah, that's what you do. You just touch every single one. I don't know if you ever had friends, but you just kind of lick everything.
Yeah, you lick it, and
then
then you decide whether or not. You know what? I don't think I want that one.
I think I'm gonna pull the microphone down to eat the cookie though.
Are you gonna? We should probably get this on video. Uh-oh. We're gonna rate the cookie. Rate the cookie.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. You've heard it here, folks. Chocolate chip cookies at Championship Lanes gets a 10 out of 10 from Zach Weidman.
I am no cookie expert, but this tastes like Nestle Toll House if I've ever had a Nestle Toll House.
They're
cookie.
fresh.
What brand of cookie are these?
I agree with
Nestle Toll House.
They're not Otis.
Definitely not Otis.
They're not
Definitely
Otis. This one is almost like not even like fully done.
Oh no, they're fresh. She just took them out of the oven. Well,
Yeah.
at least maybe the ones you guys have. This one's a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
That's warm.
That's why that first one I touched was not fresh, and then the other one was fresh out of the oven. So
that's why you touched both of them, so nobody would take it from you.
Yeah, I'm saving you from yourself, Scott. I know you're into fitness.
That's when somebody goes like this.
Yeah.
And then what?
you're into fitness and always trying to look good. So
yeah, if you saw what I ate for lunch, my fitness is off. I'm on vacation from fitness for the weekend.
That is an ooey gooey cookie.
It is messy,
She did bring napkins though, so there you go. You don't have to wipe them on your nice dress pants here. Oh,
I already got juice from my hamburger on my pants.
Oh, no one likes hamburger juice on the old pants.
Yeah. Luckily, when you stand up, you can't see it.
You can't.
If somebody's looking at my kneecap, they got a problem. See, you don't have to always talk about bowling.
You don't. This is a good time in here.
Nobody, can't have anybody really sneak up behind you because you got that big banner behind you.
Oh, there's Devin there on lane 3. 3-6-10. So he is not helping me out with my 260 comment. I think he needs to strike out now to get there, but
Devin's got my hairline going, though.
I am definitely on my way to said hairline, so I cannot make fun of that.
Wow. Sorry, folks. When somebody sets down a plate of gooey chocolate chip cookies in front of you, you can't just let it sit there.
You can't. I think it's it's a rule here. Oh, and Devin missed the 3-6-10. That is a spare you don't want to be shooting a lot of here. On your side, the 2-4-7.
Yeah.
It is just not a fun time.
Well, and I would really show my age if I really wasn't wanting a cup of coffee, but it was so nice of Angie to bring this to me. I might have a sip or two. I haven't gotten to the age yet of, the old afternoon cup of coffee.
You don't drink decaf, do you? Just for the fun of it? I never understood that. Who drinks decaf coffee just for the taste?
Yeah, no way.
No, you drink coffee for one reason, to get a little energy. If you're in the afternoon and you might be feeling a little sluggish, have a cup of coffee, but decaf at 8 o'clock at night, I never understood that.
I don't agree with that either. I don't agree with the Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, I don't get caffeine-free Coke. I can get the Diet Coke if you're trying to save a calorie or two, but caffeine's half the fun of it.
Vu Duong with the front three. I was really hoping that he would show up today in his scrubs and, really look the part of his profession.
Yeah. Yeah, Vu is a guy that bowls everything. I think he's an anesthesiologist and just loves bowling.
Yep.
Kind of has a unique style, but on something like this where they're very challenging, he doesn't really care what the lane pattern is. He's gonna play his shot and probably shoot somewhere between 180 and 200.
Did you see the back of his shirt?
I can't.
It says oil pattern. What oil pattern?
Yeah. He doesn't care if it's 10 feet or 60 feet. His ball is doing the same thing.
Yeah, Vu's always got some great shirts, and one of the more likable guys you'll ever meet.
Yeah, he's very nice, very friendly, and always encouraging people and always telling you hello.
Now, you see, you still got a lot of cookies to eat now.
Oh, I think I'm done after this. Well, I have my one that I already touched, so I'll have that one. But then,
See the perks of sitting in the booth?
maybe we'll try to bribe Devin and tell him if he could actually throw a double, he can have a cookie after just chopping the 2-8.
Well, he's going to have some work to do there. He's got spare, open. And as you know, anything cross-lane sleeper with it, it's tough.
It is tough.
Hi, Shelby.
Here's our Queens champion, Shelby
Yeah.
New. I got to cross with her this morning. She shot 628. She was a little disappointed. Wanted to shoot a little bit better, but we had a couple tricky pairs, and she didn't get very many good breaks. So I think she's going to watch scores this squad and kind of see what things are like, and then may or may not re-bowl depending on what things are like. Oh,
Here, I'll get her in here.
there you go.
Well, we have our Queens champion here, Shelby, in the booth, and I was saying I didn't get a cup of coffee earlier today, and Angie brought us cookies and coffee.
Oh, that's nice.
The staff here is pretty nice,
Yeah.
right?
Cookies, fresh cookies are always good.
Yeah, this is Shelby's home center, so she knows the hospitality here.
Yes. It's always really nice.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your bowling this morning. 628.
Yes.
Steady Eddie for a guy's name. 190, 220, 2-0, right?
Yes, not my greatest. I struggled a little bit at the beginning. I definitely was lucky I had some help from Zach here. So, we grew up together, so it was really nice having that help, and everything, getting the right ball in my hand helped. So, didn't throw the best shots today, so quality shot making was not on my side today, but left some spare making, so that definitely helped get me to the plus side today.
Yeah, the last game was definitely tricky. That last pair, the two lanes were very different. You did a really good job of staying clean and making your spares, and then you threw all three in the 10th there to get to that 206.
Yes.
Now, wait a minute. What's staying clean? What's that?
Something I've never heard of.
Yeah, I know. I haven't.
I
heard of
usually
any of that.
have at least one split a game or one missed spare a game.
Oh, let's see. We got some updated scores here real quick. We'll get to the scoring here. So you've had a lot of success in here, Shelby. How has the success from the Queens rolling over to the Masters, does that relax you even more?
Not necessarily. I think I've kind of put a little bit of pressure on myself to come in and do really well. But I also know the Masters is always a little bit more tougher. There's always a tougher field with it being the men. And there's always a lot more people here. The field's always a lot larger. But I like bowling against the guys. It gives me that competition that I always like to see. Not that the women don't add that, but I like bowling against the guys because that's just what I grew up doing as well. So I like that aspect of things.
The guys don't like bowling against you.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago when you started making match play here, and everyone was, oh, a girl made it, and then you started beating them, and then they got their feelings hurt because they got beat by the girl, and little do they know you're going to be probably the best girl in the state of Indiana. So
Yeah, she's beat a lot of guys.
yeah.
But this is definitely one of my favorite tournaments. So I always like coming and competing and being here. So I'm just fortunate enough to be here, and hopefully, I'm able to hold in there and be able to bowl some more games.
Now, Are you giving Dylan any tips or pointers?
I try my best sometimes, but I don't think he always likes to take in sometimes, but I do my best.
Now, does he help you at all?
Oh, he does for sure. So, you know,
that's
he's
good.
always there, the support, you know. It's always nice having him back there behind me, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm assuming you're going to sit out the rest of the day and take that 628 till tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I've signed up for the 4 o'clock, 4:30 squad because I'm on the fence because, like I've told Zach, it seems the Masters, it gets me. I'm in the plus 20s almost every year. I can't get over that hump. But seems like it's good enough. I've been reassured by a lot of people that they think it's good enough. So as long as I make it to tomorrow, I think we'll be okay just to get me there. So
Yeah, and
that's the goal. So.
yeah, I think right now, obviously after 2 games complete in this squad, you're sitting at 23rd, and obviously we'll see some movement around there as well.
For sure.
I can't imagine 6'10" or 09 made it last year, so I would think 28's comfortably in based on what we're seeing score-wise out here.
Yeah, and I also want to be in a comfortable spot because I know tomorrow morning there's those 2 games, and they take the top 48, but then you also have to make sure you get to the top 32 after the second 2 games. So I want to be in a comfortable spot with my 2 games where pins carry over and everything. So I also I want to be in a comfortable spot where I'm not going in trying to play catch up tomorrow either.
Yeah.
But I think I'm comfortable where, my sister's here, she's bowling, so I'm excited about that as well. So I'll be here to root her on either way.
How did she bowl the first?
She struggled a little bit. This is her first year bowling the Masters, so she's kind of getting in the routine, I think. She had a good first game, but then kind of got a little lost, I think, second game. But she has a game plan coming out next squad, so either way I'll be here and I'll be behind her trying to help out and do the best I can to help her get in that cut for tomorrow as well.
Well, that would be quite the feat for you to win the Queens and the State Masters in back-to-back years. That would be quite impressive.
That would be exciting.
What if we saw a rematch of the Sisters Finals, but at the Masters? That would be a storyline for the ages.
It would.
I know their match on Savage Bowling TV is like one of the highest viewed videos you guys have. So
Yeah, over 22,000 views.
yeah, it's pretty
It's
awesome.
exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's got to be, the one thing nice for you being from here is all the big tournaments are in this center for the most part, and
Yeah.
it's you can stay at home and
Yeah,
do your
that's
normal
nice.
routine, and
Right.
don't have to worry about hotel or whatever that may be or
Yeah,
travel.
that's definitely nice. And like I said, it's sometimes puts a little more pressure on me, but then it doesn't because, it is my home house. But then sometimes, like I said, I think I put a little extra expectation on myself. But then I just tell myself to relax and come in with a game plan and just set with that plan and, like I said, execute and just hope for the best.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Shelby, and
Yeah,
we'll
no
let you get on to whatever, and I'm sure you're relaxing a little bit here before you start your 4:30 squad, and of course we got some time before that, so.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right,
Thank
Shelby
you, guys.
New,
See
you
our
later.
Queens champion from this past year, and always nice to talk to Shelby. We're starting to get her a little more used to the microphone. She's a little nervous.
Yeah, she's kind of similar to me. I always hated being either in front of the camera or behind a microphone, but it's just one of those things you get more and more comfortable kind of the more you do it. So you just got to get used to it, and there's not another way to practice it other than just going out and doing it.
How was your first interview with Kimberly Pressler?
It wasn't too bad.
Were you,
it was
like nervous a little bit?
a little bit. I mean, just thinking on your feet and not knowing what she's going to ask and everything, but
I can see you. I'm just going to try to make the best shots possible, one shot at a time, cliche.
yeah, it's pretty almost every guy says that on TV. It's pretty stereotypical.
Yeah.
But it's under the circumstances, it's hard to think of anything else clever or witty on your feet. You just gotta say the go-to thing. But it wasn't too bad. I've done a lot of interviews the last couple weeks, so I've gotten a little bit better at it and a little more comfortable behind it.
You're going to become a celebrity here pretty soon.
Yeah, it'll be interesting once the show actually airs what all happens. But I'm bowling the World Series of bowling, so hopefully can make a little run there and kind of keep this momentum going that I have going. I'm bowling the USBC Masters in Reno, so we'll see. Hopefully between the World Series and the Masters, I can make a little bit more noise.
Absolutely, absolutely. And especially, the World Series, when you have all those events in one event, you hate to go there and not, you want to be bowling really well at that point, because that could really, guys can easily make 2 or 3 shows just by getting in a run in a short setting at the World Series.
Yeah, it's another kind of format that really benefits me. It's all in one center. You got a bunch of tournaments there, so if you match up in the center, it's pretty short games, short formats as far as qualifying goes. So if you get hot, you can make a run pretty easily, which benefits the kind of the up-and-coming guy like me compared to the guys that have been on tour. And if you give them 20 to 40 games, they're going to figure it out, whereas someone like me, might match up well in the beginning and then get hot and make a run.
Still working on that cookie, huh?
Yeah, I'm just going slow. Slow and steady wins the race, Scott.
You never heard Steady Eddie before?
I have heard Steady Eddie, but it's just funny to hear you say it. You come up with some. You're the first person I've ever heard use skosh as much as you do. So
Skosh?
You have a few words that you like to use that not many people do.
Well, skosh just really tells you, it's not much.
How much is a skosh actually? Like if you're moving on the lane, how much is a skosh?
A skosh is just like less than a board.
A half a board? Quarter board?
Can you hit a half a board?
My grandpa always told me if I was leaving 10 pins to just move a half a board and that'll carry that 10 pin, and it has not failed me yet. So
you can move. You can hit a half board.
I can move a half a board.
Or you can move a half board. Yeah.
Might not hit it, but I'll move it.
Have you ever heard the person say, I'm doing this or that, so I'm going to move back on the approach 5 inches or move up on the approach? Is there any truth to that?
So I have heard that. I don't usually recommend it, just because usually you end up taking bigger or smaller steps to end up at the same place on the foul line. So it doesn't necessarily, in people's heads, if they move back, they're starting the ball back those few inches. Or if they move up, they're getting the ball out on the lane. It doesn't usually happen that way. If anything, if you move back, you're throwing the ball faster, so you end up getting a little different reaction. Or if you move up, you're going to throw the ball slower, so you'll get a little different reaction, but it changes your timing a lot.
Well, I always would laugh because I said, well, if I move up on the approach 5 inches, I'm going to foul every time.
Yeah.
How do you move up 5 inches on the approach but never foul?
Yeah, so you have to change especially if you end up within an inch or two of the foul line on a normal shot and you move up, you're going to have to change the size of steps you take, so it's going to change.
But does it make sense then?
No, for how people use it. A lot of guys on tour and stuff, to change their speed, they will move up or back.
Okay.
But then they change their ball setup and everything, and they know what they're doing. They'll usually do it with the purpose to slow down their speed and try to hook the ball more. Or if they're moving back, they're trying to throw it harder. So it's not necessarily to change that carry like they are normally talking about.
All right, let's go to back to the scoring here after game 2. E.J. Tackett's leading the squad at plus 60. He went 243, 217. Jimmy Cook went 213, 243. He's plus 56. And then you have Dexter Harrod at 446. You have Logan Spratt at plus 45. He went 179 after his 266 game. Gene Perez shot 229 game 2, so he's plus 35. Mark Wilson, and he went Greek Church late in game 2, so he might have even had a bigger game, possibly. Mark Wilson at plus 31. Joseph Litton at plus 30. Matt Sanders plus 28. Jeremy Hook at plus 25. Ben Caldwell at plus 25. Kevin McCune at plus 22, and Kevin's got a huge game going right here. Kyle Leap at plus 19. Devin Mazzullo was at plus 19, so those couple of open frames that Devin had really were painful for him, and he's still struggling here with only 98 in the 7th frame. Terry Carlisle at plus 16. Jeff Accord at plus 16. Clint Million at plus 15. Dustin Didion at plus 15. Ryan Sidney at plus 13. Craig Monroe at plus 12. Chris Goins at plus 7. Trent Jarvis plus 3. Rodney Underwood at plus 1. And Eric Schotmer at even par along with Josh Myers. So right now, 50 guys are even or better. And see if we can find out. Brandon Coombs shot 246 game one and followed it up with a 152. That's the painful one, right? At that point in time, you're just like, no, just keep everything in the high 180s, low 190s, right?
Yeah, it is real easy to do here. You have a game where you're struggling, you don't have a good look, you split a couple times, and all of a sudden you have a 10-pin, you miss it, and you can get to 150 really fast here.
Well, and Ryan Schlosser is at -5, and then Ryan Pittman is at -7. So some guys right there. Dwayne Burton -2. He's right here in front of us. He's working on a strike in the 6th frame after an open in the 5th. Or excuse me. Yeah, open in the 5th, strike in the 6th. And right now, Kevin McCune with spare 8-bagger. He finishes this out, and he's looking at improving on his 666 score by quite a bit.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I feel. What is it wrong of me not to drink my coffee?
Well, I'm guessing that coffee costs about 2 cents, so I don't know if it'll be a big waste to let it go. But
Do you like the smell of coffee?
there's something.
Are you a coffee drinker?
I dabble. I wouldn't say I'm a coffee drinker.
How do you dabble in coffee?
I'll have a cup of coffee randomly, but I'm not the type of person that needs coffee in the morning to function.
Are you a creamer with your coffee?
Oh yeah, I gotta have creamer and sugar.
Don't tell me like flavored creamer.
I like a little French vanilla creamer. I can't lie. A little hazelnut maybe.
Oh no! Don't get me with the hazelnut.
Or they have some of those that are like Oreo flavored creamers. You don't like?
I'm not a big flavored creamer. My wife's a creamer, and I always give her a hard time. She likes her flavored creamer.
Yeah, that's. I have not learned the art of drinking black coffee.
I'm not a black coffee drinker. This would be like this. I would have 3 or 4 packets of sugar.
Okay.
You know, but I'm not a flavored creamer guy.
Do you like the regular sugar or the sweet and low?
I can't do sweet and low.
Can't do sweet and low.
No. Give me the real thing.
There you go.
Pure cane. You know, to be honest with you,
Pretty good.
pretty good.
Something about that hot cup of coffee when you haven't had it, just
Yeah.
it's almost, I think people get used to the taste of it more than anything. Like to start their day, it's not necessarily the caffeine, it's just that taste of the coffee that gets you.
I got a message here from David Slavin about Mark Wilson. I believe we mentioned his name on scoring, if I remember correctly. Yes, he is plus 31. That's David Slavin's nephew on the Wapahani team that got second a couple years ago. He works in his shop, so young player. Say Wapahani.
Wapahani?
Yeah, there you go. Wapahani.
Well, it's in Wisconsin. We bowled in Wauwatosa, so that's another interesting one right outside Milwaukee. But Addie says she likes caramel flavored creamer, so she loves the caramel macchiatos at Starbucks. So anything caramel and coffee, you have Addie Weidman's name on it.
Now, is it just can she drink the frozen?
Oh yeah, she likes it all.
Oh, I can't drink that. No
way. If
way.
it comes from Starbucks, she'll drink it.
Oh, Addie, don't drink the cold stuff with the ice cubes in it.
Yeah, in the summertime, she usually goes for more of the iced coffee, and in the wintertime, it's usually more of the hot coffee. But she loves some Starbucks and some Dunkin' Donuts, anything.
Kevin McCune with a 269 game.
Awesome.
That's going to put him at 688.
Still
That's going to put him in the lead as far as. And I don't know what he did, but he was not happy with his first ball in the 10th.
Yeah, we have yet to see a 700, so we'll see. Maybe EJ will put up a big last game to get there. I just got a text from my mom. She said, tell Scott that she says hi and she misses being here this year.
Oh, we miss you too, Mom. Always enjoy talking to your mom, and she always thrilled to talk nicely about her son, Zach, and have a big smile on her face.
And Addie also clarified she doesn't like the frozen drinks, like fraps. She does like iced coffees.
She likes the iced coffee.
Yes,
and that's
but-
kind of what I was referring to, where it has ice cubes in it.
Yeah, but not
the frozen drink.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a
Like a-
frap from Starbucks or something. So
My wife has gotten one of my youngest son. He's hooked on some of that goofy stuff that Starbucks comes out with, and all that is a ploy to get $6 or $7.
yeah, it is pretty crazy.
I tell you
but it has made them a lot of money.
Oh.
You can go out probably within 5 minutes of wherever you're at. There's a Starbucks. Oh, Devin.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Devin's got the knee going.
Well, so this year the approaches, they're not bad, but they're also not great, especially pair to pair. So some guys have been having issues with the approaches. So I think Kevin just wanted to know what Jimmy was at going into that game.
He was plus 56. So I take it Jimmy had a good game.
Oh, yeah. You know, I don't know what Jimmy's shooting this game. Do you know what Jimmy's shooting this game? Oh. Yep, so it sounds like scores are
Going up?
Yeah, this last game at least, so we'll see next block how they play, but
So here's a random question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What was one of your favorite, I know guys didn't cheer, in college bowling. Well, what was one of your favorite cheers that you guys had after somebody would strike or whatever at Purdue?
Purdue, I guess we were one of the unique ones of the guys' teams that kind of had different cheers and stuff. A lot of the teams didn't do it, but something fun that we did. Probably throwing a double, and we said, bartender, making a double, Dos Equis, por favor, because it was pretty cool because, like, Dos Equis is a beer, and it also means 2 X's, which is a double, so that was pretty cool.
Clever.
Or the old Seek strikes, Those are probably 2 of my favorite, especially because if you got 6 strikes, usually you're bowling a pretty good game.
Yeah.
So-
Was that in regular team games, or did you do it only in Bakers?
We did it all the time. We didn't care.
You got to have a little bit of fun,
We almost
right?
did it to annoy other teams sometimes, so it was pretty cool.
Uh-oh, Chad is taking the microphone.
So if you're in Colorado Springs, the place to get coffee is called Dutch Brothers. So anybody's in Colorado Springs, go to Dutch Brothers.
We have somebody watching from Colorado Springs.
Oh yeah.
What's the weather like in Colorado Springs?
Probably not getting a snowstorm like we are.
Well, I don't know.
It's
Is
supposed
that
to
where
start
you
later.
ski? Do you ski in Colorado Springs?
If only we had this thing sitting right in front of us to where you could go in and just say, what is the weather like in Colorado Springs?
Just ask Siri.
Yeah, that's too easy.
And for those of you who are asking about 3 and 4, the
it's-
camera battery died, so
51 degrees in Colorado Springs, and
Wow.
it is
We're waiting for it to
currently
come back up.
38 degrees here. Gotta love Indiana.
Yeah. 51 in Colorado Springs?
Yeah, and sunny. But they have the mountains there, so it's probably still cold and snowy there in the mountains.
Did Vu just shoot 215? I don't know. That might have been him. See, oil pattern. What's that?
Yeah, that's clever.
That's on the back of Vu Duong's shirt. And if you have to, the reason why it's funny is because Vu throws it right down the middle.
No frills, no fuss, just right down the middle. Anything more, it's just figure skating to Vu.
Are you becoming like your parents? Have you seen the commercial? You said no fussing, no cussing.
Yeah. Maybe I think I have a little bit of, I have both of my parents' best qualities is what
There
I like
you go.
to say.
There you go.
So I think everyone has a little bit of their parents in them,
Yeah.
especially as they get older. Stuff that they probably complained about their parents when they were younger, they start to do. I don't know, do you ever see that with yourself and your kids? Stuff that you complained that your parents did when you were younger, you were doing to your kids now?
I say a lot of the things that my dad used to yell at me about to my kids, like shut the door, turn the light off, throw that away, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, pick up your room. Yeah, I do a lot of that same stuff. So that's going to be the next step for you and Addie. I'm sure Mom and Dad are going to want some grandkids, right?
Yeah, it's definitely in the future. Right now, we're still kind of enjoying being young and having that freedom. We have a dog, Winston, so he he's kind of like our little baby now. He acts like a baby for sure. He's spoiled and he's cute and he knows it. So right now we're just kind of enjoying being young and being able to let me go chase my dreams right now. But it's definitely something we're looking forward to in the future. Is having a family.
Absolutely. And the time will be right whenever you decide that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so something right now, like I was talking to Luke Mathis about, like, it's better to go chase the dreams now than wonder 5 to 10 years, wow, I wonder what would have happened if I went and bowled a few more events back then. So
yeah, absolutely. It's, when you start, here's the thing. When I bowled all the time, and then when we had our first child, then all of a sudden, you didn't want to be away from home. You wanted to be around. You wanted to be around the little one, and you didn't want to miss something, right? So it'll definitely, I would say, hey, chase your dream, see what you can make of it. Because I wish if I could do anything over again, I would have gone to college, 4 or 5 years before I did. I was out of high school. I wasn't interested in college. I went and got a job, and then all of a sudden, kind of had a big brother that I never, I didn't have a big brother, but I had a friend who was like my big brother, and he said, listen, I think this is what you need to do. And I went to Purdue and met my wife at Purdue, so that was a blessing. And I wish when I came out of college, I was 25, 26, 27 years old. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, I was 28 when I graduated. I was, of course, and when you're bowling in college, you are sharp because you're bowling a lot of games. And
yeah.
I really felt I could have probably competed out there to some extent. Mm-hmm. But I was at that age in which, okay, I don't have a lot of time. I got to, we got to start a family here soon. And so, unfortunately, I was never able to chase that. So I would always tell you, absolutely, do it while you're young, because the tour is made for guys that are young, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, especially nowadays. I mean, like we were talking with it being a little bit more of a power game, you don't have to be the highest rev rate, but you almost have to have a certain rev rate to be able to compete and play the angles and shapes that you need to play. So it's definitely harder as an older bowler competing on at least the regular PBA tour.
Well, and here's the other thing, too, is you really got to tip your cap to guys like Norm Duke that are still doing it for how many years? I mean, 30 years. Mm-hmm. Because we all get to that point in our career or in our life where no matter how fun it is, you still reach sometimes a burnout point.
Yeah.
And for players like Norm Duke and Walter Ray and Parker Bone to never reach, and I'm sure they've had their points where they were fried, mm-hmm. but to never really lose that competitive spirit or edge, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's something that I admire, because if I go even like, say, 4 or 5 weeks in a row of bowling something on the weekends or having a big tournament, I need a weekend off. I can't imagine going week to week, year after year bowling. So it's something, and to do it for as long as they have and to keep up with all the technology changes going from urethane to reactive, now urethane kind of coming back, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, we're just about wrapping up the 1 o'clock squad here. We have just a handful of players bowling, and matter of fact, one of our TV pairs, 7 and 8, the championship pair to be exact, is finishing up their 10th frame. So once they are finished, we'll wrap up the 1 o'clock squad, and we will come back on the air with an update of scores, and we'll find out where we think the cut score might be for the top 48. I know a lot of people talk about the top 16, but really, in all reality, if you're a bowler, you just won in that top 48.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and after this squad, it's kind of a good indicator of where scores are going to be, because we're at the halfway point. So usually it's not quite cut in half. Usually scores are a little bit lower these last two squads, just because entries go down a little bit, and you're getting some of the repeat bowlers trying to get in and stuff. So, but for example, I usually like to look at, say, what 24, if you're looking at the 48 number, look at what 24th is right now, and that might give you an idea of where 48 ends up being at. Maybe a little.
And plus 26 would be one of the highest top 48s they've had in a long, long, long time.
So like I said, it usually is a little bit down from there. So say go down to like 30th plus 19, still pretty high. Like 32nd right now is plus 16. So
Well, that's the thing. You look at the scoring, and you look at it, and it's like, wow, these are really hard, and scoring is tough. But if you look at last year's scores, I mean, it was 609, I think, 609 or 610 to make the top 48. It doesn't look like it's going to get that low this year, unless, scores just fall off the face of the earth here at this point, because we still have 2 squads to go, and there's still going to be some talented players bowling.
yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what Matt Sanders did his last game. It looks like he went 231, 197. So hopefully he could finish with a good game to kind of better his score from the first set. He had plus 45 the first set. So
yeah, and that's the thing here. We're taking, again, you could take Kevin McCune, EJ Tackett. You could take Matt Sanders out, as all these guys already
Jimmy,
made
EJ, yeah. There's a bunch of guys right now just in the top 20 here that already have a spot. So yeah, that'll change the number a lot too. So right now, I would guess it's looking closer to that plus 10 to plus 15 for the top 48.
So right now you would have plus 25. Here's the thing that we were talking about earlier. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players separated by 6 pins or less.
Yeah, so that's,
10 spots.
Everyone's been taught spares. Spares are the name of the game. So that's one spare. Also, that's a couple of different fill balls where if you get 9 or a strike versus a 5, that 5
Absolutely.
or 6. If you have 2 games of that is the difference of making it or not making it.
Absolutely. The fill balls are absolutely a key proponent of whether making the cut or not. Like you said, if you double in every frame, in the 10th frame, and then you go 7 count, well, there's 6 pins in 3 games. And then all of a sudden, you're looking, at 45th to 48th. Well, 6 pins, you're out, at that point in time when you look at this right here. So
yeah, you have to balance trying a new ball versus still something that's going to give you a decent reaction. You don't want to try a new ball and then get 4 or 5.
Yeah, Dave Slavin's listening to us right now. 48th place last year was 609. I don't think it gets that low, do you?
Sorry, what was that?
48th place last year was 609. Low to cash was 586.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a little bit higher this year. They seem just a little bit softer than last year. But it'll be interesting to see who all bowls again, like you said, going forward with the weather coming in, especially for the 8:30 squad. I have a feeling that not too many people are going to bowl that, so scores might stay a little bit higher. Usually those extra entries kind of help, especially the last cash number usually gets a little lower because you get a lot of those people bowling the last few squads that kind of bring that down a little bit. So.
All right, so we know Dave is listening. All right, he just sent me a message. You're on Big Four Sock staff. Is there a color that you would like to tell Dave, hey, how about this color for your next line of your sock?
Black
and gold, right? Yeah,
got
absolutely. You heard it here, David. Gold and black. Got to come up with the gold and black sock. I'd wear it all the time.
Yeah.
We both got ours on.
Yeah.
I'm rocking pink. You got red to match your shirt.
I always like to match my shirt. Addie actually makes sure she makes sure I look good, so she doesn't let me leave the house with.
I just match my shoes. I'm wearing the old pink Hammers, so.
Oh, there you go.
So I match my shoes. I got the blue jersey on, so I don't. But it's a dark blue, so I just went with matching my shoes.
Yeah, I'm trying to design some new jerseys for the upcoming PBA events I'm bowling. So in the process of that, finding some good color combos and whatnot, trying to match them to pants I have and some different things.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could do something other than high five?
It'd be cool. It's kind of one of the arrangements the PBA has with High Five. I think High Five pays a certain amount to be the exclusive jersey provider, but it would be nice to be able to wear a different jersey, but it is what it is.
Now, who made that one for you?
This is Logo Infusion. This is back when I bowled with some of the H2M guys at Nationals. This was our team jersey. It's one of my favorites, the black, red, and white. So
Hey, Dave says black and gold sounds good. I'm all for it.
All right.
I'm all for it. And I would even be for the all gold and then the black where it's colored and it's black everywhere else. Reverse it. That would be pretty slick
That would
too.
be kind of cool.
Yeah. So well, you know what? Maybe you got some pull
Hey,
there.
make a TV show, and then you can start asking for things,
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh. Well, I won't have to worry about that. I'll just be on my own TV show. Does that help, David? I don't know. But we appreciate Big Four Sox sponsorship to make this broadcast possible. Again, wrapping up here, the 1 o'clock squad. Again, want to thank our sponsors, Motive Bowling, Pinheads out of Fishers, Indiana, Mike Alby's Arrowhead Bowl, Big Four Sox as well for sponsoring this squad time as well, and the Indiana State USBC, and also Anderson Madison County Visitors Bureau. Without them, we couldn't do this, and you wouldn't hear all this dumb stuff between Zach and myself. And anyway, we hope we entertained you here for the last couple of hours. It's about 3:30, I think. Oh, 4:45. So the 4:30 squad's probably going to be a little bit behind schedule. Probably be more like about 4:45.
Yeah, it looks like they're starting to oil down on the end pair, so
It'll take them a good hour or more to get that ready.
Yeah, those lane walkers, they're nice because you don't have to have someone pushing it, but they do go a little bit slower, so it takes a decent amount of time to get all the way down here.
We're just going to have to petition Dave, like, hey, man, buy another one so we can go meet right in the middle, right?
That just adds a whole nother thing because then you got different ends that play different anyway. Then you got different machines putting out.
Oh, yeah.
So
Why
then
not?
that would just be something else.
Another element.
To complain to Jeff, too. I know Jeff loves when bowlers complain to him about his tournaments.
All right, well, we appreciate your time listening to us. Zach, thank you for joining us in the broadcast booth. I know you're wanting to get back home to Addie and relax a little bit. And
yeah, get home before the weather, but I appreciate you having me on and letting me babble on.
We enjoy it, and best of luck tomorrow as you migrate your way through match play. And I've got a pretty good chance that I'm going to be shocked if 661 doesn't make it.
Yeah, I'm fingers crossed that's good enough for the top 16 there because I really like to be able to sleep in a little bit and not have to battle whatever the weather's like in the morning here.
Are you a sleep-in guy?
Oh, yeah. I've always been a sleeper. Even when I was little, I loved naps, loved sleeping in. Still to this day, I like sleeping in. So
You're showing your age. No. You don't. I mean, who doesn't like? The worst thing is I'm always one that I like to get up without having an alarm. Just get up on my own, right?
The most frustrating thing is when you're used to getting up, say, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then you actually have the opportunity to sleep in, and then you're up at 7:30, 8 o'clock anyway, when you were looking forward to sleep until 9, 9:30.
Yeah.
You're up at 5 o'clock with the babies.
Well, you had the puppy, so now it's no longer a puppy, so it sleeps with you, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying but it won't. It gets up when you get up.
Yep.
Yeah, there was nothing worse when you were training. I have 2 dogs, and they wanted to play at the middle of the hour or middle of the night, and it was brutal.
Yeah, he still does that sometimes, but not as bad as he was. He's still just turned a year old, so he has that energy, but he's gotten pretty good at sleeping.
All right, well, we're going to wrap things up here with the 1 o'clock squad again. Zach, thanks for your time. We'll be back on the air at around, I'm going to guess, it's probably going to be close to 5 o'clock before the next squad starts. When you think about the number of entries and all the qualifying squads he has, half an hour behind is pretty darn good. So anyway, we thank you for watching here on Savage Bowling Television, the 2021 Indiana State Masters. We'll be back for the 5 o'clock squad, which was probably the 4:30.